Chapter 6, How to Believe. We think that most people understand that what they think and what they believe matters in their life. At the same time, they're not exactly sure how to do that, especially when experience and life seems to be telling them otherwise. That is what we'll discuss in this chapter. We will say this again and again that living the life you want is really very simple. In every moment you create your reality, and for that matter, in every moment that you have existed, you have always done three things. Understanding and applying these three things are all it takes to change your life. These three things are: number one, you make a decision. You decide on a fundamental level who you are. Number two, you trust that decision. When you view your reality, regardless of whether it confirms or contradicts who you are, you insist, nevertheless, that you are who you decided that you are. Number three, you take action. You live and interact with your reality consistent with the decision you made about who you are. Action is the stuff that physical reality is made of, so to speak. Remember, ultimately, you create physical reality, all of it. One of the conditions that you set up when you do this is that action is necessary. Action is the difference between simply thinking something and having it manifest in your reality. When you change your actions, you change your physical output, and that appears to change your reality. We say this because action is one of the things that you consider to be the most important when it comes to changing your reality, but you're not sure how or why. You are always deciding who you are. As a review, and to reinforce this, let's talk a bit more about these three things. First, in every given moment, you create yourself 100%, not 99%, not 98%, not 80%, but 100%. In each of those moments, you make a decision. You make a decision about who you are. You always do this whether you are conscious about it or not, and you always will. For the most part, up until now, you let reality define who you are. You looked at external circumstances, symbols, things, the past, and the future, and then decided who you are. Well, my life is going this way, so this must be who I am. This must be the type of person that I am. Only this type of person would create this type of life. You have used your physical life as a gauge or a yardstick for who you are. You can decide who you are. When we talk about these things, we intentionally use the word decision. We do that because that reminds you that you have a choice. That reminds you that you can be conscious and intentional. If you want to create your reality consciously, you have to decide consciously. You are making decisions all the time anyway. You might as well do it consciously. If you decide consciously who you want to be and who you know yourself to be, your life will more accurately represent that. Often, what happens is that people look at their reality and use things like timing, the past, and the future to decide, this is who I am. For instance, they may say, because I was raised in this way and these things happened when I was a child, or because of my past life, or because something that happened yesterday, I am this person. This is who I am. When you make the decision using the past as your criteria, the decision still sticks, by the way. The effect that you get is, yes, you are that type of person, and yes, you are because of this thing that you did, or this thing that happened to you, or this thing that you experienced. The point that I'm making is that in every single moment, you make a choice, and while you could let reality dictate to you who you are, you can instead decide purposefully and constructively. You can use the methods that you already use to create your reality and do it intentionally. Think about what you might answer if someone were to ask you who you are. My suggestion is to answer this question for yourself right now. Who is it you see yourself as? What is your ideal self? You're going to make some decision. If you make a conscious decision, all right, I wish my life to now be joyous, to be satisfying, fulfilling, and inspired, then all you need to do is create a decision about yourself consciously from your creative self, from your center, and include those ideals in your decision: satisfaction, inspiration, motivation, productivity, or whatever it is. If someone were to ask, who are you? You can answer that question with your decision about who you know yourself to be rather than what reality seems to dictate. The story you buy into. I remind you that you already do this. You already make a decision whether you call it that or not. This is what you do. When a circumstance comes along, you tend to make a decision thinking that the circumstance is telling you who you are. But actually, still ultimately, you're making that decision yourself and buying into it. From all the stories you see, it is only the story you buy into that determines your experience. All of your experience that you feel occurs within you and to you is actually created from you, and so is the decision. Realizing that you can decide according to preference is a liberating notion. Allowing yourself to be conscious about who you are is an expansive approach to your reality. Maintain that decision. When you commit to that decision and maintain that decision, your reality reflects that. The first step, though, is to make a decision. The second step, then, is to trust the decision. This can also be called maintaining the decision. In each moment, you make a decision about who you are. If you consistently decide who you are, you create a continuity that lays down the foundation that changes your reality. That consistency allows you to see the changes in your life through the eyes of your new decision rather than the way you used to. When you decide who you are, you see as that person. That person sees and interprets reality differently. If you have an empowered decision, you assume that everything in your reality supports your decision. If something unexpected happens and that you previously would have considered to be bad, you now see it as an opportunity to see it through the eyes of your new decision. When you do that, you interpret it differently and you get a different effect. Trust is easy. Often when we mention trust or faith, we hear what you call a rumbling or a groan from individuals thinking, "Oh, I have to have faith? Oh boy, that's difficult." Understand the irony of that statement for us. Trust and faith are things you always have. You always have trust. You always have faith in something. If you think, "Oh, I am doubting and therefore not having trust," realize that doubt is not a lack of trust. Doubt is a complete 100% trust in the reality you say you do not prefer. When you realize this, you can remove the burden of trust because you do not have to muster it up, build it up, exercise your trust muscles, and then express it. You already trust in something. You can understand, all right, I am trusting in something. Where that comes into this discussion is that you always make a decision, and if you trust in that decision and act as though that decision has registered, you get the effect of that decision. If you say you do not trust the decision, perhaps because external circumstances would seem to indicate that the decision was not registered, you are still trusting in something, and that's generally a disempowered idea. When you trust in that something, it is truly the same thing as deciding that something instead of something you prefer. The point again is that you always do these things. You always decide. You always trust. Recognize your doubts. If you wish to remove the idea of subconscious intention, then simply make your decision consciously and trust your decision consciously. Use the mechanism you already employ in your life, but use it constructively. Use it to have a desired effect and create the life you prefer. Trust means that when something comes up contrary to your decision, that you remind yourself of your decision. Trust means remembering and maintaining your decision. It means being consistent. To trust your decision, you need to maintain the decision and be consistent about it. That's what trust is. Trusting a decision versus affirmations. Related to trust is the idea of an affirmation. When people begin to understand that they create their reality, they like the idea of affirmations. They affirm who they are through affirmations. In a sense, this is accurate. However, what happens is that often individuals will use affirmations in a disempowered way. They say one thing and yet believe something else. The affirmation is a sort of attempt to talk themselves into something. Trust is different from an affirmation, and it might be more accurately called asserting or assertion. Trust is not talking yourself into something. Trust is realizing that you're going to decide something anyway, either consciously or unconsciously, so why not decide on purpose and consciously? When circumstances arise that, for just a moment, due to your tendency of creating your reality in the older ways, the less empowered ways, seem to run contrary to your decision, you still have the opportunity in every given moment to reestablish the decision and to remind yourself of the decision that you've already made. In these situations, continuing to remind yourself of your decision is maintaining that decision and being consistent. It is another way to state trusting the decision. It is using any feedback that you get from your reality, regardless if it seems supportive or in opposition to your decision, as an opportunity to realign to your decision. Interestingly enough, because you create yourselves 100% in every given moment, the moment you make the decision, you are that person. No ifs and or buts. There is no room for anyone else. That is who you are. Trust that your decision has registered itself and sticks in your reality. Trusting the decision is complete confidence that your decision about who I am has been made by you consciously. I was going to make a decision anyway. I choose to make it consciously, and I believe, I trust, I insist that that decision sticks. And in making that decision, I am that person. Therefore, you are now able to see as that person. Who I am versus who I will be. Making a decision is a very definite act of creation. Remember, when you state your decision, you become that person. Try keeping your decision down to 1 or 2 sentences, and also try not to include words that imply that you are not already that person. In other words, there is a difference between saying, "This is who I am," and things like, "This is who I will be," "This is who I wish to be," "This is who I am becoming." Becoming is different from being. If you word your decision, "I am becoming this," "I am evolving toward that," "I am slowly achieving this," then the effect will be different than simply deciding, "This is who I am." Remove all that terminology and simply say, "This is who I am," perhaps just because I say so. Then you will experience yourself as that person in that moment. When you trust your decision consciously, by reminding yourself when circumstances may seem to otherwise, you will feel the tinge of excitement knowing that you are now this person. You know and expect that you will get what that person would get. If you haven't liked the results you've been getting, I assume that this would be very attractive. To repeat it again, trusting your decision means constantly reminding yourself of your decision. It means maintaining your decision when reality may seem otherwise. You allow reality to give you feedback and use it to remind you to realign to your decision. You also allow your reality to show you where you may wish to alter or revise your decision. Update your decision as necessary. When you express yourself fully by acting like the preferred you, your circumstances, your experiences, and what you attract will change. When that happens, you may find that you want to revise the decision you made about who you prefer to be to an even more empowered one. By all means, be willing and open to updating your decision. Allow the decision to be honed, carved, worked in such a way where it is polished and where it truly reflects who you are. The moment you make the decision and trust that that decision sticks, you then get to, so to speak, reality test the decision and see if the decision works for you. If it is an empowered decision, no matter what changes you make in it over time, it will still remain foundationally an empowered approach that can only allow you to yield positive experience in your life. Be consistent. You already do this, by the way. You are always in every moment deciding who you are. You either trust in the conscious decision you made, or you shift your trust and decision by letting circumstances or other factors decide who you are. When you change your decision, you will get new results. If you go back and forth, shifting your decision, that is a random expression of your decision. I don't need to tell you that randomly shifting your decision creates an experience that feels random. When you do that, you feel like life is happening to you rather than from you. Your life feels random rather than purposeful. Your life feels accidental rather than synchronous and serendipitous. These experiences are all from the decisions that you are making. Make your decision stronger. You can simplify your creative ability by very finely honing in and stating your decision, clarifying that decision, that vision, and stating it after the words, "I am." Allow your body posture and your attitude to exemplify that decision. I am this person. That is what trusting the decision is all about. Pay attention to how you decide. If you pay attention to how you are living your life, you will see in no uncertain terms how you are always deciding and trusting in something. You will be amazed at how many creative ways that you actually support the experiences in your life you say you do not prefer. You continue to get negative results because of your decisions and because you let circumstances and timing dictate your decisions. When you observe this, you are still making a decision not to make a positive decision, but at least it is a step in the direction of entertaining the idea that perhaps you just might have something to do with the creation of your reality. By all means, take as much time as you need. Create whatever process you wish. Create whatever elaborate set of steps that you need in order to allow yourself to finally make any decision. Drop the process and just decide. In the end, no matter what process you create, no matter what ritual you participate in, ultimately, at some point along that linear process, you will get a result, and that result will not in any way be due to the process, but will be due only to you in that moment deciding, "This is who I am." While you do this, you're actually saying, The reason that I can now be this person is because of this elaborate process. But ultimately, it is the decision after the process, now it's all right to be this person, that allows you to be that person and not the process in any way. You can decide who you are right now. You don't need to create a process unless you find that you enjoy it. Maybe you don't enjoy immediately and completely transforming the face of your entire life in reality. Maybe you don't enjoy transforming your experience, your interpretation of your reality, and immediately transforming your relationships to yourself and others. Who are you? A question that I like to ask is, who are you? I like to ask this question because it allows you to begin to consider who you are in a conscious way. If you wish to play along, you can. I will not force anyone to have too much fun by stating the positive decision of who they choose to be in definite and absolute terms, and thereby giving them the ability and opportunity to see who it is they desire to be now. You can always answer, I have not yet committed to that decision. Don't feel on the spot or that you must define yourself. However, if you are willing to, that will be your first step in beginning to express yourself in conscious terms according to preference. You can allow your experience to reflect who you know yourself to be rather than who everyone says you are, rather than what your circumstances seem to be telling you, rather than how your past has resulted in your lot in life, or, for that matter, rather than how your future has resulted in your lot in life. Don't let the future decide. People often define themselves not only by their past, but by their future. Well, I need to do this and I haven't done that. This needs to be handled. This needs to be taken care of. The bottom line of the decision in that moment is, I am not a prepared being and expect my reality to have a negative outcome. Perhaps if I swim a little harder, run a little faster, and work a little bit more laboriously, I might just head off the process. All right, that's one way to look at it. However, that approach is not necessarily being a conscious creator. And the statement of a conscious creator always begins by the sentiment or the wording, I am, fill in the blank. You get to choose what goes in the blank. You already do. Now that you know this, you can play a shell game with your intentions and consciousness, but there is no escaping the fact that you now have the information that I just shared. You have revealed to yourself in perfect timing, using what you consider to be me as a reflection, what you already know to be true for yourself, and what you are now ready to hear. Remember, you create your reality. When I say that you create your reality 100%, I mean it. Everything that you see is a reflection of you. The paradox is that this is true for all other individuals. But you don't need to confuse and perplex yourself over this idea. Simply marvel over it from time to time. Everything exists within you. Every single thing that you perceive is created by you to support any decision that you make in your reality. Sometimes the situation will seem to support your decision very clearly. You can easily interpret it by saying, I see my decision stuck. These circumstances prove it. Sometimes, however, reality will seem to give you feedback that seems to run contrary to your decision. This is an opportunity to allow yourself to really decide if this is who you are, or if you can easily be talked out of the decision. If you get talked out of it, then you are making a new decision based on what everyone says or what circumstance and timing seem to dictate. It is up to you to remain focused. It is up to you to continue to express yourself consciously and continuously. Conclusion. Thank you for interacting with me and establishing that at least part of your decision is to explore more of yourself and attract symbols, external symbols such as me, that begins to support your empowered decision. I thank you for allowing me to act as a facilitator, but more accurately as a mirror. You can only appreciate, use, and understand anything that you perceive that I am saying if you first already contain it. Otherwise, these words would be ink on a page, and you would not comprehend anything. The fact that you can read it, the fact that it resonates with you, and the fact that it seems to inspire you is your direct indication that you already contain that potential within yourself. Ultimately speaking, you are an infinite, multidimensional, and eternal being, and you contain it all. We also get a lot out of this. We also see all of you as an external reflection of us, and understand that each unique point of view that we interact with that seems like an interaction with an external being is simply more personal exploration of facets of our own particular individual consciousness. Again, I thank you for allowing me to interact with you in this way, albeit an unconventional way presently in your mass society. For you give me the honor of allowing me to reflect to myself who I am, to allow you to reflect to yourself who you are. I thank you, unconditionally and lovingly.